discovered China. A cluster of grottos became the barometer to the rise and fall of an empire. With the help of Buddhism, this empire was able to gain its stable domination. How are these grottos and that empire related to each other? Discover China as we explore the Yungang Grottos. The 1,000-year-old Great Wall, like a lone dragon wandering from east to west, guarding an ever-changing ancient city on the northern frontiers of ancient China. Datong, which was known as Pingchen, had significant military importance on the frontiers of every dynasty for ages. In 398 AD, an ethnic minority named Shanbei crossed the Great Wall and settled at Pingcheng. There, they founded the Northern Wei Dynasty. Datong is famous for its abundant coal resources. Today, coal powder from the mines has covered its past glory and prosperity. Few men would think of the times when Pingcheng was once a city of diverse ethnic groups teeming with prosperity and extravagance. The Shanbei minority had vanished into the pages of history, leaving only the grottos. They stand there in solemn silence as a testimony to the achievements of its ancient ancestors. In the 4th century, as the great migration of Germanic people in Europe was taking place, the ethnic groups on the prairie of northern China were also undergoing a large-scale migration. The latter involved about 10 million people of 5 ancient nomadic ethnic tribes called the 5 Hu groups, which comprised of Xiongnu, Shanbei, Jia, Di, and Qiang. They migrated south to the central plains of China, searching for fertile land. Before long, the reign of the Han Dynasty was overthrown after it ruled the central plains for about 400 years. The nomadic ethnic groups began competing for hegemony. Amidst their intense competition, the Shanbei became the victors and founded the Northern Wei Dynasty. After migrating from the desolate steppes to the central plains, the rulers of the Northern Wei began to think about how to win the trust of the Han people. The Hans, who have been conquered before, needed a reason to trust this immigrated ethnic group. Fortunately, Buddha had the right words. The moment he drops his cleaver, the butcher becomes a Buddha. Thus, the founding emperor of the Northern Wei, Tuobagui, spared no time in making Buddhism the state religion. In order to appease conflicts between different ethnic groups, Tuobagui ordered many Buddhist temples to be built in northern China. The attitude of Tuobagui towards Buddhism chimed in with the Buddhist wish that Buddhism could take root in China with the help of imperial power. Fa Guo, the Buddhist leader of northern China at that time, changed the convention that Buddhism would not yield to royal power. The eminent monk announced that the Tuoba ruler was the reincarnation of the Tathagata Buddha, and he took the lead in worshipping him. It was a time when Buddhism enjoyed immense popularity among the people. It was believed that one could escape the cycle of suffering and rebirth without Buddhist practice if only he should turn to Buddha and pray for the release of his soul. The rapid and extensive spread of Buddhism, Buddhist statues, murals, grottos, and temples was unprecedented. In 409, when the second emperor Tuoba took the throne from his father, Pingcheng was not only the capital of Northern Wei, but also a magnificent land of Buddhism. More and more people converted to Buddhism, many of them becoming monks and nuns in order to escape heavy taxation. This caused grave concerns for the emperor. Even though he himself revered Buddhism and respected monks, the question remained, without provisions and soldiers, how could Xianbei troops be strong enough to ever make their victorious march through the Central Plains? In 423, the third emperor of the Northern Wei, Tuoba took the throne. By taking advantage of the internal conflicts of the ruling class, some Taoists gained the trust of the emperor and prompted the emperor to adapt the policy of removing Buddhist doctrine and abolishing Buddhism. Tuoba ordained all Buddhist doctrines must be eliminated, all Buddhist statues must be destroyed. Whoever talks about Buddhism will be executed along with his entire family. Tuoba held the idea that the spread of Buddhism would inflict evil consequences such as the ruin of courtesy and justice, that the laws of nature would collapse, or that the law of the country would be subverted. In only a few months, thousands of Buddhist temples were burned down, and tens of thousands of monks were forced to resume secular life or to escape beyond the Great Wall. Buddhism encountered its first overwhelming disaster since landing in China. In 452, Tuoba Jun, the grandson of Tuoba Tao, succeeded the throne. To reassure his people that they could lead a stable and peaceful life, the young new emperor ordered the restoration of Buddhism on a grand scale. The runaway monks began to return to Pingcheng. The coming winter saw a monk named Tun Yao walking on his way back to the capital, looking as if something was weighing heavily on his mind. Thousands of temples had been destroyed soon after the decree was issued by the former emperor. Feeling great regret, Tun Yao got lost in his musings. How can the light of Buddhism be sustained and shine on this land eternally? When he was about to arrive in Pingcheng, Tun Yao ran into Tuoba Jun, Emperor Wencheng, who had been out riding. The horse the emperor rode on walked towards the monk and caught his clothes in its mouth. It was thought at the time that horses knew who was a good man. The emperor thus appointed Tun Yao as his mentor. By the time he arrived to Pingcheng, Tun Yao was appointed by the emperor as governor of Buddhist doctrine, the highest-ranking clerical position. The position gave Tun Yao the power to manage monks all over the country. After Tun Yao took his post, he proposed to Emperor Wencheng that grottos be chiseled out of the Wuzhou mountain cliffs. His intention was to revive Buddhism in Pingcheng. Lie between the inner and outer Great Wall. Though not very majestic or magnificent, the mountain was the gateway to the northern steppes. The emperors of Northern Wei worshipped it as a divine mountain, praying for the blessings of deities. It was from here that Xianbei people entered Pingcheng and started the history for the Tuoba clan to rule the Central Plains. At the end of the year 460, cold northwestern winds blew, piercing through the cloudy sky like a huge knife. but the bitter coldness could not beat the passion of the workers on Yuzhou Mountain. With the support of Emperor Wencheng and with Tun Yao supervising, thousands of prisoners, captives, and craftsmen with the most primitive axes and chisels were creating a Buddhist art jewel that would earn its place in history. This treasure would later be known as the 5 Yungang Grottos. In his famous works of Shuijingju or Waterways Commentary, the famous geographer Li Daoyuan recorded the grand scene when Yungang Grottos were constructed. The statues were chiseled according to the structure of the rocks, and the caves were carved according to the structure of the mountain. The statues are huge and vivid. These carvings are a rare style in this world. Each of the 5 grottos enshrines a giant stone Buddha statue honoring one of the 5 Northern Wei emperors. The height of these 5 statues ranges between 13.8 to 15.5 meters. Deep into the grottos, visitors would feel as if they crossed through time and opened a historical museum sealed for long, in which they could converse with the 5 emperors. This giant Buddha sitting in the open air is said to represent Tuo Bajun, Emperor Wencheng. The statue, its eyes long and slender, a high bun and a high-bridged nose, shoulders broad and straight, looks different from different angles. The carving style, an outstanding feature of the grottos in Northern Wei, incorporates the style of the Indian Buddha and the traditional Chinese art, tell the tale of the knowledge and insight its makers had. Tuo Bangui was quite satisfied that he was compared with Buddha. The emperor, so majestic on the imperial court, now wears a Buddhist robe, sits as a Buddha, and guards his subjects quietly. This statue of Sakyamuni embodies Emperor Taiwu, grandfather of Wencheng and the suppressor of Buddhism. The Buddhist robe on him, named Thousand Buddha Kasaya, had numerous Buddhist images engraved on it. Those images are believed to represent the monks that were killed in the Taiwu suppression of Buddhism. For many dynasties, the Buddha statue with Thousand Buddha Kasaya was rare. It was said to have been a gesture of repentance. The statue, with its left hand placed on its chest and right hand dropping naturally, shows an attempt to reconcile with those victims. Buddhism, 60 years after it became the state religion of Northern Wei, could finally spread in an indelible way. At the same time, Emperor Wencheng demanded to see the images of himself and his predecessors in the Buddha statues. This posed a challenge to Tun Yao. He had to figure out a way to merge the two into one. To build a statue in the mountains was very difficult. Moreover, the rules on how to build Buddha statues were very strict when Buddhism arrived in China. How would Tun Yao deal with the contradiction between the imperial power and the rules of Buddhism? adopted the style of Indian Buddhist images. They made some subtle modifications to the expressions and the proportions of the statues. After the modification, the space between the eyes of each statue became wide, and the mouth was made curved upward slightly at the corners. The change to the Buddhist images was significant. It catered delicately for the implicit aesthetic orientation of the Chinese. In pursuit of likeness in spirit, these designs were a critical step towards the secularization of Buddhist images. Standing in front of the Buddha for a little while, the proportion of the head to the shoulders can be clearly seen as almost 1:3. The proportion is impossible for any human being, Chinese or Indian. Nevertheless, we could find the proportion perfect if we think of ourselves as subjects of Northern Way. It is this artistic change that endowed Buddha statues of Yungang Grottos with a royal appearance. They have not only won recognition of Shangbei royals, but also became a model of cave art around China. In 34 years, from 460 to 494, and with the support of the Northern Wei Imperial Court, Tang Yao led craftsmen and workers to cut out almost half of Wuzhou Mountain and constructed a Buddhist world of splendor, elegance, and stunning beauty. This cliff stretches about 1 kilometer. On the cliff are 252 caves and 51,000 statues of Buddha, the highest statue measuring at 17 meters tall, and the smallest one only several centimeters. The images of Buddha pose differently. The statues are all breathtaking, some of them standing, some lying, some smiling, and some meditating. This is the first large-scale cluster of grottos in China. Yungang Grottos pioneered the cave art in which all caves were carved out of rock. Diverse styles of Buddhist images were realized, combined, and developed. They formed the Yungang mode of cave art and became an important turning point in the history of Chinese Buddhist art. Most images of Buddhist statues of this period have an air of honesty and simplicity. On the basis of the Indian original model, the Chinese craftsmen blended into it the blood of the Shanbei clan. The mixture was described as Buddha's image with the looks of the Hu people. In order to encapsulate the nobility and majesty of imperial power, Tang Yao pursued the concept of big Buddhas in small caves to the extreme. In the process, Tang Yao and the craftsmen unexpectedly broke the border between man and the divine, opening a free and broad space for the development of Chinese Buddhist art. As long as the mountain and the Buddha statues existed, the imperial power of Northern Wei would not perish. But could the reign of the Shanbei clan last as long as the Wuzhou Mountains? The sun set while the workers in Yungang Fort were still laboring. In 490, Tuoba Hong, Emperor Xiao Wen assumed the throne. According to historical records, Emperor Xiao Wen loved reading about the history of the Han Dynasty since he was very young. He was also an ardent advocate of Buddhist culture. The 20-year-old emperor believed that only by abandoning the traditions of Xianbei people completely and melting into the big Chinese family, like water flowing into the ocean, could the Northern Wei dynasty reign forever. Emperor Shaowen had his image sculptured into the largest statue on Wuzhou Mountain. The statue stands 17 meters tall, his two legs 15.5 meters long, and his lap able to hold 120 people. The statue could have 12 people standing on each foot. This sitting Sakyamuni statue looks dignified and solemn. It has blue spiral-shaped hair, slender eyebrows, and elongated eyes. Its two long earlobes reach its broad shoulders. His sweeping Buddhist robe and cross sash, low on the body, are typical examples of the Chinese style. Tuoba Hong's reverence to emperorship was unmatched by any other monarch after him. This large central Buddha in Cave 5 was the ideal image of an emperor in Emperor Shaowen's mind. He longed for a more brilliant and victorious advancement of the Northern Wei dynasty. The ambitious Tuoba Hong was not content with only holding the territory north to the Yellow River. He intended to move his capital city south to Luoyang and expand his territory. After moving the capital to Luoyang, Tuoba Hong abandoned the traditions of the Xianbei people, breaking down many barriers and carrying out his policy of Chinese localization vigorously. With his efforts, the Buddhist cave art boomed. Yungang Grottos at Luoyang, one of the three biggest grottos in China, were constructed under his decree. Yungang Grottos maintained the slender style of stone statues carved in Northern Wei, while varied and new styles were created in the years that followed. To date, Chinese cave art underwent radical changes in shaping images. With the style of cave art coming into being, the Buddhist images appeared on the central plains of China. Gradually, the Yungang Grottos were deserted as China's capital moved elsewhere.